Alright, I'm just going to show you how to do dodging and burning in the iPad version of Affinity Photo, and also just give you a little tip about how to set it up non-destructively. So then, for example, with this image, it's a nice image, but let's say it's a bit flat, and one of the ways I might choose to combat this is to go into the Adjustment Studio and add a brightness and contrast adjustment. And I can just crank the contrast up like so to get a punchier result. Now that's all very well and good, the sky looks quite dramatic, but the foreground is a little dark. And I want to maintain that kind of drama in the foreground, but also brighten it up. So if I move across to the Layers Studio and make sure I have the pixel layer selected here, I can pick up the dodge brush from the toolbar here. So I'll select the dodge brush and let's pick a suitable brush width, like so. What kind of opacity do we want? Let's try 50%. And then we want to be affecting, we'll go for highlights first, and we'll also try midtones. So I'll set the range to highlights, and then I just want to brush over the areas I want to dodge, like so. So I'll do the old Abbey and then the foreground here. And because I haven't gone crazy with the opacity, and in fact I'll back it off a little bit more here, it means that we can just slowly build up additional layers, if we're talking in painterly terms here. There we go. So looking at it, I don't think I actually need to touch the midtones at all. Just dodging the highlights has achieved the correct effect that I'm after. Okay, and don't forget, the opposite to the dodge brush where we brighten areas is the burn brush. So this time I'm going to change the range to shadows, and let's just pick some areas down here of the foreground that we can darken, like so. Maybe just this area here as well. Okay, I will leave it there before I overwork it. And now I'll show you how you can do this dodging and burning approach non-destructively. So there are several steps involved, but once you've got the routine down pat, it's fairly straightforward. First of all, on the Layers Studio, we want to add a new pixel layer. Okay, and making sure this empty layer is selected, we want to move across to the Filter Studio and find Fill. Okay, so what we're going to do is, if we tap the color option here, we're going to move down to where we've got grey sliders, and we want to fill this pixel layer with 50% grey. Then apply that. Okay, then move back to the Layers Studio, and we want to change this pixel layer blend mode to overlay. Okay, so before we start dodging and burning, I'm going to do the same thing that I did to the previous image, which is to add a brightness and contrast adjustment. And I'm just going to reduce the brightness somewhat and increase the contrast. So the goal here is now to selectively dodge and burn areas to add a bit more drama and flair to this image. So back on the Layers Studio, make sure we've got the grey pixel layer selected. Then I'm going to select the dodge brush. Let's try highlights for now. Everything else seems okay, brush width is suitable, so I'm just going to go ahead and apply the dodge brush. Okay, looking good. But notice I dodged an area up here, and I'm perhaps not too happy about that. Now, if you're doing that destructively on the initial pixel layer, you're kind of compromising the quality. But because we're now doing it on what is basically just a solid color pixel layer with a blend mode, it means I can go in, select the burn brush, change the range to highlights to match the highlight dodging that I've just done, and I can go back over that to correct it. Like so. And since we're on the burn brush, let's change the range to shadows, and I'm going to darken this foreground area to try and lead the viewer's eye away from it. I want the eye to settle on the middle area of the image here. So again, I can just burn the foreground here, like so. And finally then, let's just round off with the dodge brush again. I'm okay burning the highlights, that's fine. I'll just knock the opacity back a bit. And I'll just add some nice emphasis to the middle area of the image, and perhaps the water as well. There we go. Okay. So when all is said and done, because we've done this non-destructively, what we can also do is just hide that pixel layer, and all of our dodge and burn brushwork is just contained on that layer. And you can see we can kind of shift the perception of light in an image just by using dodging and burning. So it's quite a powerful technique, and the ability to do it non-destructively is also incredibly handy. So there we go. I hope that was helpful. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to check out the other video tutorials.